back in 2006, 2007, I was running this company. It was a venture-funded company called Afford It. It's gone now, but it was essentially a firm or Klarna, what it is now, kind of like buy and make payments over time. And we launched our first beta. This was in Christmas of that year. And our offer out to the market was buy an Xbox for $19 a week, right? We sold $500,000 of Xboxes in like 8 minutes. And we didn't even market it. Like people just came out of the ceiling, right? So much so we didn't even have inventory. It was me and Elliot and everybody else driving around town, going to Best Buys, loading up like minivans, trying to get Xboxes. It was ridiculous, right? But it was one of the few times where we were so overwhelmed with sales that we had to react to it. But I was like, this is not a problem, right? It's a challenge, but it ain't a problem. When those orders stop coming, or more importantly, those people stop paying us, that's a problem. Again, I've never been overwhelmed with good news.
Another technique that I tell founders in the short term is try and get someone to pay you to solve their problem, even if you have to do it manually. We talk about this all the time. Turn it into a service.
Yep.
What do you think?
We do that every time. We pilot everything that we do. You know, Ed, some of the stuff you and I are working on right now, we'll pilot as a manual service. And you have to, because the worst thing you could do is start building stuff in hopes that you built the right product. You just don't have to anymore. So almost everything can be piloted as a service in a small scale long before you ever decide to build one bit of product. And I would argue that even building product now, before you've actually delivered as a service, is just straight up irresponsible. Because how could you possibly know exactly what it's supposed to be until you start doing it?
And I confess, the 2 startups that I've exited started exactly that way. How can I provide a service first and almost fake a product and then sell it and then do it manually? The startups that have not gone well, I built the product first.
It's fun to build product. It's fun to get in there and start whiteboarding stuff out and coding and releasing product. It's so much fun. It's just wildly irresponsible. That'd be cool. You know me, I'm a carpenter, right? That'd be me of saying, I want to build a house. I'm just going to drive over to the lot right now with a bunch of 2x4s, and I'm just going to start building shit, right? And I'm just going to kind of see how it goes. I know I want a house. I'm so excited to build. I'm just going to start building. And any rational person is like, maybe a blueprint. I don't know. I figure it out whether this is actually going to stand. Maybe a structural engineer on the job. I don't know.
Let me push that a little further. I have founders that skip everything and start buying furniture, decorations. It's, they go all the way.
Yeah. And they start using these really tired and irrelevant, concepts like, well, you got to spend money to make money. No, you got to make money to spend money. That's kind of how it works, actually.
Now let's talk about from the investor's perspective. For me, if a founder came to me and told me this story, here's how I did manually. I think about some of the other founders that have successfully raised, and I love the stories. They're like your story as well. When you had the one with Unsubscribe.com, it was like, we built this product and it was just a bunch of manual people trying to prove it. Investors love stories like that. I don't think founders quite understand.
Yeah, I think the reason for that is because, again, we've never done this before. So, we assume that unless you've built the whole thing, you can't possibly open up the store. And so in a case like Unsubscribe.com, me and my co-founder at the time, Jamie Siminoff, the founder of Ring the Doorbell Company, when I presented the idea to Jamie about being able to build a system that would get you off all of your email on Unsubscribe.com, he was like, well, that's going to require a ton of resources, and we'd have to build a massive system to parse every type of email and find unsubscribe links. And I'm like, dude, we're not going to do any of that. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to find some interns at USC. We're going to put them in a basement. And every time that Ed hits the unsubscribe button in his browser or his email client, we're going to forward it to those folks. They're going to find the unsubscribe link and they're going to unsubscribe. And you know what's so cool about that? It's going to work every single time. It's going to have no automation whatsoever, but it's going to work. Now, funny side note to that, Ed, because this was a chain of events. So we launched really nothing but a button inside of your email client. And there was a really popular kind of like blog TV show at the time. And they were reviewing it as kind of a new thing that was coming out. And while they were broadcasting live, right? The guy's like, you're not going to believe this. I can now just hit unsubscribe and automatically unsubscribe. And as he's doing it on the show, we're watching the email come in to our inbox, and we're watching our intern like unsubscribe. It's like, look, dude, it's done. How incredible. This technology has to be amazing. And we're like, dude, if you only knew. But he doesn't care, right? He doesn't care if we have technology or not. He just cares to get off his, subscribe list.
And how much did you tell that story to potential investors, whether you raised or not? How much are you socializing your process, your approach?
Okay, here's what's funny about that, Ed. When that blog went out there, right? When that video blog went out there, a lot of it was followed by VCs. I'm not even kidding. I've never seen anything like this. We had VCs climbing over themselves to invest. We raised $2 million in the next 24 hours, led by Charles River Ventures, CRV. And they came to Jamie's house on a Saturday to close the deal.
Wow.
Right? Like that's how aggressive it got. And so when we explained, here's where we're at, we were open, right? We didn't even had time to build a pitch deck yet. And we said, look, right now we're just betaing the concept, but technology can be built. What matters is whether there's demand. And at the time, there were 800 million active email addresses. We're like, it's the biggest TAM there is. So if we get this right, it could go forever.
And that's where founders get the whole concept of an MVP messed up. They think, I have to show the investor the actual app, the actual SaaS, instead of showing that I have proof of concept. I've indeed solved the problem. I ran a test, and holy shit, look at the results. Founders get this totally mixed up.
Yep. Let's take Starbucks, for example. Let's say you and I wanted to start Starbucks. And you're like, ideally, we want to build this beautiful coffee concept, et cetera. I was like, well, let's first make a pot of coffee and hand it to somebody and see if they like it, right? And let's say we do. And they say, this is the most delicious coffee I've ever had, okay? Stop right there. Does the customer care that we have 1,200 locations? No, right? Do they care whether we have a plant or a supply chain? No. All they care about was the product that they had in their hand. Was it great? That's all we need to be focused on. Stop right there. Get the product in somebody's hand, no matter how efficient it is, no matter how costly it is, et cetera, and find it if they like it. We took that and we created Uber. And we said, Ed, V1 is we just go to someone's house in our clean car, have them get in, drive them to the airport, and ask them how that worked out for them. That's it. And it's kind of that simplicity that gets lost.
And investors like that story. They do not care about your projections and how fancy everything is in your pitch deck.
Did it work?
If you can tell them the story, this is how we got one cup of coffee. I say this, get one cup of coffee in a customer's hands. Make him love it. Find out. Get them to pay you $1 for that cup of coffee. Get them to tell someone else about that cup of coffee, and then figure out how to repeat the whole process.
Right.
That's it. If you told investors that, they would be climbing over themselves like you talked about to invest.
Right. Because ultimately, you can solve for things like supply chain, back-end technology, et cetera. The only thing you can't solve for is lack of interest on the customer's behalf. If I show folks that when you click this unsubscribe button, that the product will work and people rave about it and they have to have it, then I can figure out the rest. But if I launch this product, if I launch this coffee, and no one wants my swill, no matter of supply chain in the world is going to possibly solve for that.